Trey Wave got another one.
Yes, what it do, what it do, what it do. It's your boy B. Damone, and we got Coach Gomez, and we are remote recording this episode of 120 of Along the Wire, 7-on-7, San Antonio. What's going on, Coach?
Nothing much, man. Just trying to stay warm, relaxing here
Ex-
at the house.
yeah, exactly. So, as everybody can probably tell, and if you know you're in San Antonio, all the highways are closed down, and so we aren't gonna take the chance of hitting any of that ice and being in a worse situation than we are right now. So, thanks to technology and Level Up Productions, we are able to bring you this show uh, while he's at home, while Coach is at home, and while I'm at home. So let's get into this. First off, I want to say shout out UT. Two commits yesterday: Malik Murphy and Travell Johnson. So hook 'em. And now, once the regular football season is over in high school football, we have 7-on-7. And if you didn't know, Coach Gomez is the founding father of 7-on-7 here in San Antonio, Texas. Um, so he can give us a lot of insights on the ongoings of the sport. And we actually had our first national tournament here put on by True Exposure and Championship 7-on-7 this past weekend. That had a great turnout of 87 teams, which is the largest in the country so far this season. Um, so kind of want to get a little bit of your perspective on that from the coaching side of it in just a second here. And I want to give a shout out to all the squads who showed out and put on for San Antonio, Texas. There was also kids from San Antonio on other squads. So I'll mention something about that in a little bit. But it was a really good turnout for the home city, making sure everybody got a little bit of taste of San Antonio 7-on-7 football. Um, so let's get into it from your perspective, real quick, Coach. How did you feel about the tournament? You're a coach on Texas Smoke, and what are your takeaways from it, and how your squad performed?
Well, overall, I mean, just having the tournament here in San Antonio with at a nice venue at the Star Complex, that was awesome. Just seeing all the teams out there. San Antonio had been waiting for that for already the last 3 to 4 years. We had reached out to Pylon a few times, sent them venues, never bid on anything, and then Championship 7-on-7 ended up, capitalizing on that and being the first to do that down in San Antonio. I think overall, all the teams that were out there, I think everybody was just excited in general just by looking at all the San Antonio teams. Just having it in your backyard, there was a different vibe, a different feeling when you walked into the facility. For our kids, a lot of them, it was their first time ever playing in a competitive 7-on-7 game. We only had about three guys out of the whole team who had ever been in a competition like that.
Mm.
So for them, it was an eye opener. For us as coaches, we had been there, so we kind of knew how to approach it as far as coaches and preparation and getting these boys ready. We try to simulate practice as much as it was like it would be in a game, as far as the talking, the mess.
Yeah.
As far as just to mimic that before going in last Saturday and Sunday. I personally think our boys adapted well. Of course, it was an eye opener for most of them, but for the most part, there was a lot of positives that we took away from it. Hell, at the end of the day on Saturday, we were ranked, top 10 defense, which
Right.
says a lot for a bunch of guys who had barely, came together within a week, 2 weeks. And the reason I say that is because a lot of these other 7-on-7 teams had started way before us as far as tryouts.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, us as coaches, we weren't concerned about that because we weren't after the I guess the big names that everybody was going to be after. Everybody was going to be after the Aiden and Nestor Rodriguez's. Everybody's going to be after the Tyler Turners. Everybody's going to be after the Nevion Coops. So what we did is kind of shook up the trees and ended up getting a straight 2022 class, and some kids that people ain't even heard of. You know what I mean? And a lot of those guys stepped up big this weekend, and they played their roles and showed that they can compete on that platform.
Well, awesome, awesome. Uh, so you had mentioned something about nerves and getting them ready. I know it's been different, and like you've spoken with me and told me that different states, it's a totally different feel. So
Yeah.
did you feel like San Antonio represented in that aspect of other teams came down and got a taste, or was there really no home field type advantage feel?
I think San Antonio represented it. I mean, there's a thing about it. Front Seven, I believe that was their first tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Smoke, that was their first tournament. You had Elite House, who was competitive that weekend, and they were competitive the weekend before because that was their second tournament. So that played a
Right.
big role. Um, you had Primetime, who also had this was their second tournament, so they were kind of in a row. So you had SA Zoom. I believe it was their first tournament.
Mm-hmm.
210 affiliate was their first tournament. I mean, were we represented well as organizations? Yes, there was a lot of
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
Do I wish that the San Antonio team would have won or been in the finals? Well, of course.
Right.
But what I was proud was, you got Louisiana saying that they had the best players, but yet you have a San Antonio quarterback leading them to the championship.
See, you jumped the gun on me, coach. You jumped the gun
You know what I'm
on
saying?
me.
I'm just saying, so you have they're just so San Antonio was represented well, if you ask me.
Right.
You know what I mean? We showed
Right.
out as organizations being out there. We had, players, a lot of players as top performers. There was a lot of San Antonio players on there. And then once again, it wasn't a San Antonio team that was in a championship game, but it was led by a San Antonio quarterback. So,
Exactly.
I'm all for that, and I feel that we were represented well. And I mean, it's only going to get better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to what's in store for San Antonio later on down the line.
Got to have a start somewhere. And like Coach was saying, the College Station played against the Louisiana Bootleggers in the championship game. College Station ultimately ended up winning, and so they were the champion of the Battle at the Alamo City True Exposure Championship 7-on-7 National Tournament. But the Bootleggers were led by Antonio Meza, who was a freshman. And that kind of gave me vibes of last year of when Silas Gomez went up to play with Ice, and they ended up winning the tournament. It just made me harken back to that. But a couple of names I wanna give the watchers of some players who I saw from San Antonio who really stood out to me. Diego Narezo and Levon Williams of Elite House. Diego being the quarterback and Levon being the defensive back. Silas Gomez on Texas Smoke. Ethan Jace Gonzalez of Texas Smoke. Leonard Adams on Texas Smoke. J.C. Evans and Quincy Amos of F7. Caden Basenko, Mizell Miller, and Alan Catacheo of DEF CON. This was actually their second tournament as well. So, yeah, those are some of the names that stood out to me. And when I saw them out there on the field, they were doing their thing, especially Basenko on DEF CON. I really like that kid's poise and how he throws the football. And he actually goes to East Central, so that actually made me. And there was a couple of East Central kids out there that I'm like, okay, I really need to get over there and see what's going down over there. And at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to True Exposure and Championship 7-on-7 for, like Coach said, took advantage and became the first organization to hold a national tournament here in San Antonio, Texas. And we can't wait till other organizations begin to do that, and then also for the possibility of doing it ourselves. So no one's gonna treat home like home does. So if there's a way that we can have people welcome down here with the San Antonio tournament, then that's exactly what should go down. Want to shout out RL and Mike. They are here from San Antonio, and they were a key part of True Exposure and their coverage of the players and the tournament down here, and putting some of this stuff together. So as far as them being hosts, they were moving around all tournament. Got to speak to them a little bit off and on, but they were doing their thing. So shout out to them. And from a media point of view, it was good. It was good. It was tons of teams. Kids were interactive. I get on here and I talk about COVID and everything. There was plenty of spacing. If people didn't have a mask, then I didn't talk to them. So, it was just, it was plenty of space. It was plenty of space, and I think people stayed paired up with the groups that they came with, and everybody was pretty much respectful, so it wasn't any issues like that. Um, as far as your next tournament, Coach, uh, when is Texas Smoke going to be hitting the field again?
We're looking at hitting the pylon in Houston, February 27th through the 28th. We're excited. We're excited for that. I think the boys, after getting this first tournament underneath their belt, they're excited to go and display their talents in Houston.
All right, so that's the pylon tournament in Houston, February 27th and 28th.
Yes, sir.
So there's that tournament, and for just future reference, there's also End Zone 7-on-7, March 13th and 14th, going down in the Woodlands. I would advise people, if you can, to check that out. If you're going to check out your sons and all, and that, cool. But that's a tournament that is going down.
That tournament, a packed tournament, man. That tournament will have all kinds of teams from all over the nation.
Definitely.
For those that have never been, you'll see some highly recruited athletes that are running around there in the field. You'll have teams from Florida. You'll have teams from California. You'll have guys that are being recruited from Texas, guys that are being recruited from USC, guys that are recruited from Miami. I mean, that'll be a star-studded event for sure.
Ran into a ton of commits last year. At least three from Texas, some from OU Sucks, some from Baylor, some that ended up going to Auburn. It's a lot of competition out there, which is one of the reasons I think, how you said you get some of these 22s, 23s, and 24s out there, and they're going up against this talent. It's only going to make them better in the for the competition that they're facing.
Not to mention, man. I mean, it's a huge confidence booster for a lot of these kids that don't get to face these guys in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's 7-on-7, and yeah, there's a difference because there ain't no tackling involved. But yes, you still got to cover. You still got to throw the ball. You still got to catch the ball. So
right.
It can change. It can change a wide receiver from San Antonio's confidence if he goes and does something big against the DB. So then he brings that confidence back to San Antonio. He brings that back to his high school, and then it starts elevating his game throughout the season. So I mean, a lot of people don't think that it does anything for a lot of these kids, but a lot of times it's a confidence booster, man. Knowing that, hey, I can play with these guys.
One of the biggest things, last year, Dre Spriggs versus Grind,
Yeah,
comes to mind because that was a squad that no one thought was going to even be challenged, and Smoke
yeah.
went and challenged.
Grind was like 30 something and 3 or 2 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Only lost like 2 games, and we could have gave them their other loss. I mean, we had a young quarterback in Silas leading the way that game, and we had Dre Spriggs, and them two, man, they took it down to the wire, and we ended up losing by 2 points. So, I mean,
Right.
that tells you the confidence that was built along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get into something that I just take upon myself to add a little bit of extra for coverage for the players and for the squads. The players like it, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. I developed a ranking system for 7-on-7 football in San Antonio, Texas. I don't know if anybody else is doing it in the state. I know they got some national rankings, but it might not be a top 10 all the time. As long as teams are competing and I know about it, I'll throw them on the list. So are we good to go ahead and get into that, Coach?
What are we doing? An 18U straight and an 18U seniors ranking?
Huh?
I said, are we doing an 18U and an 18 seniors team ranking?
We're doing 18 and under, and and if you're out there, you're out there. If you're out there, you're out there. Here we go. Let's go from 8, because there's 8 right now that I got. 8 to 1. At number 8, SA Zoom. They went 1-4 in the True Exposure Championship 7-on-7 circuit, and they actually had, and I wasn't expecting them to beat Front 7, and they did. So that was a little bit of talk around the fields. Was, man, I wasn't expecting that, but that's formerly Team Flojo, so it's not necessarily a new squad, but they just get out there and have fun from the stuff that I've heard, and I've been meaning to get with their coaches so I can get to know a little bit more in depth about their program that they have over there. But they're at number 8.
Yeah.
210 affiliated, went 1-4 as well, and yeah, they were in some close games, and then they were in some not close games. So it was good to get out there and hang out with some of those guys. I knew some of their players from the previous year and had covered their recruiting and such. And I even gave them the chain, and they had it for a day. It was cool to see them go out there and take some pictures with it and stuff. That's one thing I'm gonna say. If I'm at a tournament and there's a San Antonio squad, this is the San Antonio chain, so I don't mind leaving it with the squad. If y'all get a turnover, a touchdown, and want to turn up with the chain, just ask, or I'll just come by and I'll drop it off. I ain't tripping. Like you said, San Antonio prime time. I got to get with them too. They were 1-4 in this tournament, and they come in at number 6. Now, top five. We got the SA Ducks at 2-3. Man, SA Ducks you couldn't get away from because they had their entire program out there, man. So sometimes I'd be looking at the 15-year-olds thinking it's the 18-year-olds because they got some size, and they got some guys coming up on that 18 and under squad. And they were 2-3. They were 2-3 in this tournament.
Shouts out to on that note. Shouts out to Eddie Spencer, man. Eddie Spencer done a great job in getting all age levels in 10U, 12U, 15U, 18U. So shouts out
Yeah,
Eddie Spencer, man.
yeah, because I think you said 15. I think he had a 10, 12, 15, and an 18. I think so.
And he's doing it the right way. He's doing it the right way. I mean, he's going from tackle football in the fall, and then transitioning his whole squads, all
Right,
age groups, into 7-on-7, which makes you a stronger football team later on in the fall, man. And
right.
he's going about it the right way. I know we work together, and and helping him and leading him in the right direction and doing that, and he's doing an awesome job over there. So
Yeah,
shouts
definitely.
out to
So
Eddie out there.
keep that up, Coach Spencer. Keep that up. Doing it good. Number 4, we got Texas Smoke at 2-3. Like you said, it was y'all's first tournament there. Ended up with the top 10 defense. Really, if that's a squad that that I've been looking at, y'all as coaches are doing a really good job in like some of the formulating of your offense and defense. Given the fact, like you said, is that y'all only have three players who have ever been in like a live action tournament like that. So I think a squad that's coming up going against y'all is really gonna have to bring their mind games, because I think that y'all got players who buy into your system and trust into it, because they are so green too. Because I know it can be a challenge for kids who have been in tournaments, and and they how sometimes kids will think they know stuff. So like when you don't have that challenge, I think y'all are in a good position at 4 to move up from there. Number 3, DEF CON 5, 4, and 1. This is their second tournament they were in this past week. Man, they got names. I mean, when they lost to Front 7, I didn't think they were going to lose to Front 7, but Front 7 came out there, and let me just blend these two. Front 7 is number 2 at 3-3. How can a 3-3 squad be over a 5-4 squad? Because they beat them straight up head to head. So that's how I have that. But DEF CON, like I said, Bosanko at quarterback, Mizell Miller was shifty out there. They got Traylon Payne, Jalen Gardner. They've got names. I think that they've got Anthony Evans as well. So it's just putting it together, knowing what you can do, and not that you have too many tools, but you got to find the right way to have those tools complement each other. And I think that Front 7 came out and just caught them. They caught a defensive player who they could kind of go at, and they kept doing that until that adjustment was made. So Front 7, J.C. Evans looked very good, and of course, when you're looking at these players in 7-on-7, you kind of take it over to the 11 on 11 side. And now I really can't wait to see what he looks like at Brandeis moving forward. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback, but if he is, then that's some excitement. Him and Aiden had a pretty good connection. And I think that's something that Brandeis should really implement as much as they can, having Aiden on that offensive side of the ball. Let's see, they had Quincy Amos in the secondary over there. The receiver Jack from East Central. I don't want to say his name
That's
wrong.
the name. That's the name that you definitely want to remember. Is that guy Jack?
Mm-hmm.
That's the name you really want to remember. That kid. I mean, he hasn't exploded yet, but I believe this year he'll have a huge year.
Definitely. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on him too. Uh, and then of course front seven is led by Calvin, Coach Calvin. So I do expect them to be in some more tournaments this year, and to be prepped. They were the squad of the year last year with Dream Team winning a national pylon tournament. So that he has players who know how to win on that squad. He is working with some new quarterbacks this year, so that's going to be a little bit of a change, but he's going to have that quarterback for a while, it looks like. so so you got to get started from somewhere, which brings us to number one in their second tournament, making it to the semifinals again. Elite House at 12-4-1 in their two tournaments. I want to say this about Elite House. Their play calling on offense, and they've got good defenders. But there was a game that I saw 4 plays in which a player was either wide open and the ball was just overthrown, or a player dropped the pass and there was nobody out in front of them. But they've got some very good play calls on offense that were home run play calls that just didn't quite go. But if that ball had been caught or that pass was a little bit better, some of the scores would have been blowouts. Their scrappy squad. I get back to their play calls because they were really organized on that offensive side of the ball, from the complexity of the routes and the combos that they use. They use weaves. And Diego from day 1 to day 2 looked like a different player on that second day, which is why I think they were able to make it into the semifinals as well. They've got length on defense, and they've got experience, and they've got speed. So, I mean, that's the name of the game in 7-on-7 football. So when you have those attributes, you are already competitive. I think the only thing that would take Elite House out is a squad like College Station. A squad like College Station that a couple of people told me about. I believe you told me about too, as in how they control tempo. It's not necessarily about the team that's across from them, but when you have a super structured squad, I think that's the only type of team that would give Elite House trouble. But if you get out there and you just want to play with them, I think
that has their stuff down, man.
Huh?
I said C-Stat has their stuff down, man. I mean, I remember seeing them 4 years ago in a tournament out in Houston, and just the way they run it, man, it's like a machine. They give you no chance on defense to adjust. They just run up to the line, call their play. They don't even get in the huddle at times. They're calling it from the line.
No huddle.
And by the time you can adjust or call a defense, they're already snapping the ball. So, I mean, and I know that they ran through their high school coach to high school program, and they just transitioned it over to 7-on-7, which makes it even more exciting and enjoyable to watch. Because, like you said, it's not like they're going and recruiting players from all over College Station or all over East Texas.
Right.
It's there within their high school. And they don't have the fastest guys, they don't have the biggest guys, but they execute it to the T.
Exactly. And really exactly how you said, it's like they aren't worried about the defense that you're running because they know the play they're running. And they do run a no huddle. And I'll get into that too. So that leaves Elite House at number 1 after their second tournament. So let's run it back down. Elite House 1, front 7-2, DEFCON Texas 3, Texas Smoke 4, SA Ducks 5, SA Primetime 6, 210 Affiliated 7, and SA Zoom 8. And like I said, as teams are competing in these tournaments, and I know about the squads going in, I'll take everything into account. You might see a top 8, you might see a top 6, you might only see a top 5. You know, it just depends on the teams that are being continuously active. So, like if squads aren't, because these tournaments cost money. So if a squad can't make a tournament, I'm not gonna just drop front 7 down to 9 or something on the next one. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. If you're active, you're active, and then that's just what it is. So and head to head will count. Head to head will count. Let's see. Um, pylon. No. Let's see. All right. So now we're gonna switch over. Take off your 7-on-7 hat, coach, and we're gonna get back into some high school football real quick.
What's up? What's going on?
So think of 3 schools that you're just looking forward to see how they look next year. It's not that you want to see if they're going to be better or bad, but just in general, squads that you're looking forward to seeing play next year. I think.
So, go ahead and go first.
I'll give you one. I'm interested in Taft. I want to see how a school that went from not making the playoffs for 16 years to making it into the 3rd round will perform coming out next year.
I got 2. I got my first one I'm going to go with is Stevens. Can Stevens do what they did this past year again? You know, they're going to lose some key guys on the defensive line, but are they capable of doing it again? And then my second one would be Judson. Judson's losing a lot of guys as well as far as off linemen, running back, some guys on the defense side of the ball. I know that they adjust year in and year out, but, you know, the way they finished off this year kind of makes you wonder, you know, how they're going to come back next year. Because they ended up with two losses in a row, which was that last district loss and then that playoff loss to Roosevelt.
And it's been a while for Judson to finish the season. Yeah. Losing your last 2 games of the year, it's been a while since Judson's done that. Man, I'm trying to think. Maybe close to a decade.
And you know who else is in that picture too that I'm curious on how they're going to bounce back is Steele. Steele doesn't have a quarterback. We're so used to, you know, Wyatt Beagle the last 4 years, you know, because he's been starting since a freshman. Who's going to lead that squad? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like this in every city, but it's definitely prevalent here in San Antonio. Is who's at the helm, who's at the quarterback position. You know, like I said, Brandeis, like you just said, Steele, Clemens
too is another one. Who's going to be at the helm exactly? And you had Khalid Paulette before, who led them for a while. Before transferring over to Veterans Memorial. Then you had Max jump in, did an awesome job. Who's next up there?
You have Cornerstone moving from Lucas Coley over to Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be an interesting year coming up this year. I mean, there's a few teams out there who have their quarterbacks coming back. I would say about 5 right off the hand. But other than that, man, it's gonna be an interesting season coming back next year.
it really is. It's kind of going to be one of those things of what defense is going to take advantage of it. What defense is going to take advantage of a new quarterback being in there? Because I mean, think about it. I mean, you had Brandeis in there last year with their quarterback change, and it's still going to be some growing pains, you know. But they had a defense that would keep them in there in the games. But then you had a couple of times, um, you had them lose. They lost 3 games last year, and they hadn't lost three games in 3 years, you know. So
And that goes to show you how important that quarterback position is and the experience. You know, with that guy leading the squad. Brandeis had Jordan battles before where he would make the adjustments and do what he had to do on offense to keep them in the ball game. And he had another guy who came in with Joe, which he did a great job, but he was no Jordan Battles, and he wasn't able to make some of the adjustments that the Jordan Battles would do before adjustment maybe like in the second half. I'm saying so.
yeah,
It's gonna be totally different, and we saw firsthand how important the position was because Brandeis being a contender 2 years in a row to not even making it to the second round this year, first round. You know what I mean? So that QB position is always important, man. It's always important.
So another school who I had high hopes for last year, who unfortunately didn't even get to play in the playoffs, is in that same boat of who's going to be the quarterback, and that's Harlan.
Yeah. Yep.
That's gonna be a very interesting squad because I feel they've got a lot of people leaving. They've got a lot of people. When I say leaving, graduating, they've got a lot of people graduating. Yeah. So that could give them a chance to probably revamp the offense or come up with a new scheme because you're not gonna have. I mean, unless there's something I don't know about the arm talent of the backup quarterbacks, but Cannon Williams isn't just replaced, given his abilities. So
yeah, but what I am excited for on Harlan though is they did establish a running game with the young running back in De La Garza this year. So you're halfway there. You can sell that play action. Since he does run downhill, he does run good. He execute. I mean, they were executing well whenever he ran the ball last year because McDade was out, so he stepped up huge. And I think gaining that experience this year is going to help him a lot next year.
And then lastly, a squad that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing play is I was borderline with Brennan because I didn't like how they ended that season. I really felt like they should have beat Vandergriff, and I felt like they were focused and for some reason came out flat. But you already hit it on the head, Judson. San Antonio was honestly up for grabs right now.
I say
San Antonio was up for grabs, and the only reason I say it's up for grabs.
Call it right now.
Huh?
Brennan makes a huge run next year.
What?
I said I'm gonna call it right now. I say Brennan makes a big run next year. Brennan's gonna be the team to beat. I think I'm gonna put them number 1 in my city's top 10 next for sure.
I mean, I feel most confidently about them. Yeah, I want to see that Warren game next year because I think that you shouldn't have blips like that. So I know they won't have some of their defensive backs who were in that game this year, there next year, but that's why you got people coming up, you know, and they have their Turners, they have the defensive backs, and they have the linebackers, they have the defense to be able to correct some of that stuff. But yeah, I could be right there with you and say that they'll make a run. Um, let's see exactly how they replace spells on offense as well. They're gonna have some new running backs as well. So they lost a senior at the tailback position too.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. Like I was saying, San Antonio was wide open. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, just so it leaves a lot of these media people, and it leaves a lot of these guys that do rankings and stuff. It keeps everybody honest, man. Ain't no piggybacking off of somebody else's thoughts. Ain't no, hey, I'm gonna steal this guy's ranking. I mean, you're going into a season basically with kids that some people don't even know about. You know what I mean? Because they hadn't established a name for themselves. This year, I think in San Antonio all over, it's going to be kind of like a rebuilding year. I think whenever they do some of the rankings, they're just going to go off of big names like your typical Judson, your typical Steele, but yet they don't know what type of players or personnel they really got coming out of there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So some of these preseason rankings are going to be a little shaky, to be honest with you. It's really going to be up to the guys who've been around the game and who have really truly covered Texas high school football or San Antonio football, I would say, to be able to do a true ranking and know what's really out there as far as athletes is concerned. But other than that, man, I'm excited for this new year. It's like I said, it's going to be a toss-up. There's going to be a lot of games that I'm going to be paying attention to. That's for sure.
And two schools I want to make sure I say that fall under that same umbrella of squads I want to watch. Reagan and Southside. Because that combination, huh?
No, I was gonna say Southside too, man. I mean, they got Torres coming back, but they lost some key contributors as far as Micah Young on that defense. Then Caleb Camarillo as far as the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to lose some key components also on the offensive line, but they
Which
do have a
means
Cody
there's
Wilkerson to dominate that line, that trenches.
mm-hmm. Which means that there's opportunity there to step up.
Yep.
And I think that Britton Moore and Carson Green over at Reagan, I think that they could be a powerful ground game force for Reagan. Because I mean, people underrate Britton Moore's legs, but he can run.
I mean, Reagan also has a crew of linebackers right now that those guys are smart. Those guys play. And Bryce Hamilton, you got House out there. I mean, a lot of them dudes, they can ball. They're going to be some sleepers. I'm not just saying it because they're on my 7-on-7 squad, but them guys are high football IQ ball players, and they contributed this year as well, which is one of the reasons they caught my eye. You also got a guy named Joseph Spicer who plays, I believe, defensive end, which I'm very familiar with. That kid, he's going to step up as well. So Reagan is also they're going to be pushing for sure.
Yeah, and like I remember their game last year versus Brennan. That was a hell of a game. And that's and Brennan beating Reagan last year is what really got me even more on their bandwagon was how they beat Reagan. So You know what? This recording remote is definitely different. It's definitely different.
Yeah, for sure.
It's cool, but man, I can't wait to be back in the studio, man. Let's see. So we
No
covered
doubt.
7-on-7. We got, make sure I get everything. Anything you want to add before we close out, Coach? I think I've covered everything that I got on my notes.
No, man, just shout out to San Antonio. You know, wherever we go and represent in the 7-on-7 scene this coming spring, go do your thing. Just know that we all got each other's back around here. Um, let's do whatever we can to bring them championships back to San Antonio so that we can start making a name for ourselves down here. I'm tired of hearing the Houstons and the Dallases and all that, man. Let's bring San Antonio, put San Antonio on the map, all together as one, man.
Exactly. Y'all heard it here first and Along the Wire. It's been B. Damone. Follow me on Twitter at B. Damone. Follow me on Facebook at Along the Wirecast. Follow me on Instagram at Along the Wire. And make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As we will be bringing you more content through there. I've got highlights from 7-on-7 that I got to put up. But yeah, follow Coach Gomez at
STX7V7 on Twitter.
Already. So this has been Along the Wire, episode 120. Everybody be safe out there in this cold. Remember, hook 'em, birds up, 210. We out. Peace.